Hey there, welcome back to Tennille Talks. So, this message, this reading is giving me the energy of waking a sleeping bear and then immediately realizing that you need to run for cover. And so who we see first in this reading is a main male. Now, currently, the energy of this main male is very dark, heavy, and fearful. This person may be suffering, they may be persecuted or tormented by darkness and having nightmares. This man collaborated with others, possibly a family, not their family, but just a group of people who are related, to perform spell work or black magic on the divinity of a high priestess. And so something that the high priestess carries was of interest to possibly the members of her family. And so this is almost like contracting a third party to enter the life into this high priestess, hoping that this person would be able to essentially extract what it is this family finds to be a prized possession. The purpose of the collaboration was to have the divinity released from this high priestess, or at least to have the high priestess weakened or tainted so that she or he themselves would not be able to access and use or apply the effects and the impacts of what it is that they carry. Now, the plan literally was to trap, trick, allure, and capture a high priestess in some sort of imprisonment. Now, whether it was to literally have them caught up in a legal situation that would have them end in jail, whether it was just to plague or to capture their mind to the point that they wouldn't have access to divine communication, right? And so they'd be in this mental prison. So this could be a mental prison, a physical prison. This could also be emotional in the event that the man was supposed to enter the life almost as if a potential counterpart, but it really was supposed to plague their heart so that the high priestess would not be able to connect the heart and the mind in order to move and to work through their own divinity, okay? And so the high priestess's divinity is considered a talisman of some kind. It is a key. It opens realms. It opens dimensions. It unlocks opportunity. It removes obstacles. And so to be trapped in the matrix, these high priests and high priestesses that have these divine gifts, they're walking around in human vessels, right? And so something about the light that they carry can be seen and sensed and even smelled by lower vibrational dark beings. They can just see it in you. They can see it radiating off of you. And so you become literally a light in the darkness. And most times, dark beings, entities, and humans who have a vessel that's been compromised are going to be drawn to you. And some will go as far as attempting to steal, rob, kill, and or destroy you, high priestess, right? And so this specific high priestess is a truth teller, a seer. And they may have wanted to remove the gifts and the abilities that allow this high priestess to know what they know, see what they see, and sense what they sense. And so without being told anything, without seeing anything, not even needing to be present, the high priestess has the ability to know what happened, what was said, and what was spoken in areas and environments that they never stepped foot in. Right? And so for them to have access to the truth that they never even had to experience firsthand is a dangerous gift in the eyes of those that carry substantial amounts of darkness. This high priestess is a nurturer, possibly a mother, a parent, a caretaker, someone who loves unconditionally. They are benevolent, very caring, charitable, and trustworthy. This is somebody that would rather see you have in order to see you go without while they have, right? So they will give you their last. They will give you the shirt off of their back. So just a very giving person. But the gifts of this high priestess is threatening to these groups that like to move in secrecy. They like to move in darkness. They like to plan. They like to plot, right? And so something about this high priestess, the information that this high priestess was given by way of the divine is exposing the things that are hidden in the dark. As a high priestess, you can see in the dark. And so this main male, possibly the one that was contracted, before you can hunt a high priestess, I feel like you have to hunt the hunter. And so when a third party person is contracted, almost as the hitman to enter the life of a high priestess, this is going to be a person that's vulnerable, right? And so this person is very much, they are volunteering, but I feel like the powers that be almost play off of the weaknesses and the vulnerabilities of these people, right? And so if you are struggling financially, if your relationship is suffering, right? Typically finances and relationships have a way of, one can impact the other. And so if there's essentially somebody whose personal life is falling apart for many different reasons, somebody will come to you and will tempt you, bribe you, and offer you the very thing that you feel you need in order to get your own life back on track. And they'll say, you can have all of this, and all you have to do is do this one mission first, And so these people are preyed upon, and they are first preyed upon and then convinced to then go prey upon the intended target, okay? And so this main male may have been down on his luck, facing financial instability and setbacks in their employment world. And this high priestess was to be bartered essentially for profit, gain, and financial windfalls. This high priestess, so listen, there are many different versions of a high priestess. Not all have the same gifts, not all look the same, not all have the same ability. But what is true about all of them is they have light. Now, this high priestess is also a divine feminine. Now, a Leo pops up in this reading. And so a Leo, somebody born, during Leo season, may have been trusted. And so I'm feeling at some point that the hired or contracted, we'll call him hitman, trusted the words that the Leo spoke about this high priestess. They took everything that this family or this group told them about who this high priestess was or wasn't. I feel like the hitman believed it as Bible, believed it as fact. Now, when they describe the characteristics of this divine feminine, and I'm learning that whoever trusted this Leo is now in despair. And so this person is, when people start to offer you the very things you're missing, sometimes it's hard to sit back and think like, is this true? Like you're not really thinking, you're only feeling and sensing what your life would be like if you were to go through with this. You're not really considering whether or not the mouth of the devil is the one speaking it to you. You know what I mean? You're not questioning what you hear because it all sounds so good, but we often know that some things sound too good to be true. And in this case, they were false. And so the idea was to cause instability to this high priestess, divine feminine, and by doing so, it would have granted forward movement and success to this main male that was essentially hired. Now, this divine feminine may be a fire sign, may be very attractive, very passionate, very bold and fierce, possibly having an entrepreneurial spirit, but nonetheless, there is a certain magnetism that this high priestess divine feminine carries, right? And so she's full of passion, full of spirit, and they were supposed to read the cover of the divine feminine, and so this is what it is. So the hitman essentially gets into the energy of the high priestess, and without really using their own intuition, their own insight, without really thinking, they walk into the situation as if they have and they know everything they need to know. And so all of the tools and the information are something that's been given to them. They never really allowed themselves to sit and to experience the energy and the space of the high priestess and make up their own mind. I mean, honestly, they couldn't, because at this point it's too late. They're in there to accomplish something in order to put their own life back together, right? And so when they read this book, let's consider reading a book by its cover, right? You never read a book by its cover. And I feel like that's what this main male did. He looked at the high priestess, the front and the back jacket of the book. He felt like that was it. And he was using the information that was told to him, and never decided to open the pages and think on their own. So the high priestess and this divine feminine, high priestess / divine feminine, was pure. So there was a level of purity. And so, dark entities are people that have more woundedness and darkness inside of them due to a lack of healing. They're slow. They're not quick enough to understand how light moves and how light works. And they also don't understand that there's a certain amount of purity that makes a divine feminine high priestess untouchable. Right? You can see the light, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you can access the light. It doesn't mean that you can handle the light. And so this is somebody really being, they're too big for their britches. They're in a space that really they just don't fit. But they're not seeing that because they've misread the cover of this book. And so this high priestess is completely full of divine knowing, divine insight, knowledge, and wisdom. But remember, this can't be perceived as clearly as it needs to be by the lower energy or people that just vibrate at a very low frequency. Now, a message of concern, like Mayday, Mayday, was sent out from this main male to the parties of this collaboration that a war, something went wrong. And so in the event that somebody thought that this heist was to be done very easily, this main male realizes that something is off. This is not going as it should have been. So whether it was the response or the reaction or something spoken or revealed by this high priestess, or just at some point this main male was able to tap into what they were truly feeling and sensing, and not only going off of what was spoken to them. But at some point this person realizes this is not easy. This is actually a battle, right? And listen, this is where people start to feel convicted. This is where people are like, should I just confess what I'm really here for? Because I'm feeling seen. I feel exposed, right? This was supposed to be kind of like a hidden motive, but I'm feeling like I've just walked into a spotlight, right? And so send a message back to home base and you're like, yo, this is concerning. This is a war. I feel like something has been initiated that was not planned for. Now, the strength of this divine feminine high priestess, although only one person, has triggered an all-out spiritual war for those involved. And so even though you walk around, divine beings, in one body, I want you to understand, not that you don't already, but behind the veil you have an army beside you, in front of you, around you, beneath you, above you. I mean, you literally have an entire secret service, but it's one that exists in the spiritual realm. And the beautiful thing is that nobody can see it, but they can sense it when they've gone too far, when they've done too much. And so that is what happened to this main male. Something inside of them picked up on danger, and it wasn't anything that they could see, because again, they look at you and they think that, oh, this will be easy, I can do this, but something triggered their own internal system, and they realized that they tripped some type of alarm that was never planned for, never spoken about, and truly unseen. Now, this is what we call fate. This was always going to be the outcome, right? Because anybody that comes into the energy of a high priestess or a divine feminine is never going to be the same. And they will leave, the high priestess will leave this person better than they found them. So no matter the exchange, when you're in the company or the energy of a divine being, you never meant to grow or to heal or to think or to you never went there for that. But by way of God, you're going to be better than when you first arrived. And so, although it doesn't feel like that to this main male, whatever God's design or mission was by this encounter is actually the one that's happening and taking place. And so this was fate. This was always the entire plan and plot. And it is occurring exactly as the divine intended. And like, can we just like celebrate a divine feminine, divine masculine, divine high priest? Can we just celebrate the fact that you are just so trusted and so loved and so believed in to stay true to the mission and to never like remove yourself from who you are at your core. There's no situation that can pull you away from your divinity. Like, in order to have these gifts and to walk around in realms of darkness and to still remain light, to grow your light, right? And to still be loving and caring and nurturing no matter what you've endured. Like, it is so beautiful. It is so beautiful. And it doesn't always feel beautiful, right? It doesn't always feel good to have to endure attacks and rejection and plots and abandonment and slander and lies and gossip. And it doesn't feel good. But when you know what you know and you know who you are and you know who God is and who God is in you, like, that is your strength, right? And your level of faith and your strength determines the strength of your team on the other side. And so you can go into war zones, little old you, right? You can go into war zones and you can accomplish things that would take thousands, and it's just you. It is just you. And so although it may feel lonely, I think at this point in your walk and in your journey, you know more than ever that you are never alone. The family of this high priestess, divine feminine, who also may be a queen of wands. We talked about that bold, sexy, appealing, magnetic, passionate, fiery force that you kind of walk around with. That's a hell of a combination. High priestess, divine feminine, queen of wands. Like, people may be intimidated by your level of attraction and confidence and wit and humor. It's almost like you got too much going on. Like, why do you get to have all of that? You know what I mean? But nonetheless, the family has knowledge of your Akashic records and your divine birthright. And so this gives me the idea of like a family realizing a family full of dark beings, realizing, so who is the light one in our group, right? Who's the light one? And instead of elevating the light one and allowing the light one to help the entire group to ascend in true dark, slow, ignorant type of fashion, they decide to attack that one. But it never goes like it's just like, really? Like, because when they fight you, they're fighting God. When they attack you, they're attacking God. It's like, but people can't see that. And honestly, to a certain point, they're supposed to be blind. They're not supposed to see it because they have to grow. And failure is an expedited lesson, right? When you fail, you feel it. The remorse, the regret, the shame, the fear, the embarrassment, all of those lower vibrational feelings don't feel good. And in order to never feel those again, you kind of make a course correction and you change your behavior. And so although there's one high priestess, there is a group of people that will now be elevated and impacted. They will think twice in the future when they attempt to make this. Now, I'm not going to say that they've only done this attack once. I'm sure they've done it over the course of years. And every attack strengthened the high priestess until finally you get to the finale, right? This is like the culmination, the crescendo of the story, where they have the biggest attack, the one that they're most sure of. But what they don't know is that you are stronger than you've ever been, right? And actually, they were building you. Every time they threw a stone, you didn't throw it back, but you saved it, and you were building, you were building, you were building. And so now you are a force to be reckoned with, something that no one can break down or break apart. No one can break through. right? And it is in this final act that not only do they see who you are, but you see who you are. And so you will never be the same again after an event like this. No one will. No one will. So the family also knows that the high priestess, divine feminine / queen of wands is working or toiling and laboring behind the scenes, confidently accessing their divine blessings. So whatever you are doing behind the scenes quietly, it kind of has them a little anxious. And they're irritated because they don't want you to continue. They don't want you to pursue what is yours. In their minds, you were never supposed to know who you were or what you were intended to have, which is why it was so important for you to be rejected, for you to be abandoned and lied about and gossiped, right? Because they were never supposed to affirm the truth about you. And one of the ways that people can get you to never know who you are is to disrespect you, to treat you terrible, right? They don't want to give you any idea of your worth or value. And so they treat you like shit intentionally. And so whatever this act was, whoever came into your life, that person is suffering. And their suffering is the exact thing that will change them forever, right? And you are the bear that's been woken, right? And now these people are running for cover, but who are they running to and who are they running from? They're running from God, but at the same time, they're running to God because they want to experience some form of salvation. And so really all paths, all roads lead back to God. Now, the way you get to God is up to you and how you use your free will. But nonetheless, that's the only place that you can ever go, right? That's the only place that you can ever go. And so it truly is a beautiful story of how God works and the way divinity moves in this slave planet called Earth, which is really a school for us to understand how to balance our dark and our light, right? And not only do we have to balance ourselves collectively as a group, but also the darkness and the light within us. We have to learn how to balance and heal and overcome our trials and tribulations. And most of the people that are consumed by darkness are people that have learned to hide it or suppress it or to run from it. They kind of put band-aids on it. They do a lot of earthly things thinking that the darkness and the wounds in them will just go away. And so when someone of light steps in to their space, they're immediately reminded of who they are not and how far they still have to go. And it pains them so much so that they would want to literally put your light out, right? And in their minds, they will be successful, right? It's all of them and there's one of you. In their own mind, they can only imagine one outcome. And it seems like just sheer stupidity, but it's truly a beautiful story of God and how God continues to work through souls and with souls in these fragile, vulnerable human bodies. Thank you so much for coming to Teal Talks, and I'll see you in the next one.